How you going, guys? Curtis from Cutting Edge Engineering. So today's job, we have a 672 grader in for some repair. Considering how many hours this grader has on it, it is in really good condition, and the customer just wants to prolong its life and get the most out of it while he can. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be fitting a wear skin to the blade so the material doesn't erode the original blade skin, and we also need to replace the bottom guide on the back of the blade that sits in the cradle. Because this is a GPS machine, any sort of tolerance issues in the blade does affect the way it cuts. So while we've got the blade off, we're going to replace it. First thing I'm going to be doing is fitting the wear skin onto the blade, but because I'm under such tight time restraints on this machine, because it does have another job to go to and it is end of year and we are extremely busy, we won't be showing too much detail of fitting the wear skin because we already have videos on our channel. So we're going to get stuck into it. First thing I need to do is remove the blade from the grader. So if I was just fitting the wear skin onto the blade, I just swing the blade out to the side of the machine and fit the wear skin with the blade still attached. But because I'm doing the guide, I'm going to remove it off the machine. Righto guys, so that's the blade removed from the grader. What I'm going to do now is take it inside so I can start fitting the wear skin. Ooh. So now that the blade's inside, we can really see the amount of wear that's on the bottom guide. It is supposed to be a square 90-degree edge, and there is about 7 mil of material missing, but that is only in the working zone. The outer edges are in pretty good shape, but it is a good thing we are changing it because it'll just give this grader another 8,000 hours of life. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the new skin inside. I'm going to mark out what I need to cut off it. We'll get that cut, and then we can fit it onto the blade. And the piece of material we're going to be using, it is 8 mil in a 450 grade wear plate, and we've had it pressed by one of our local suppliers. So I've got that marked out ready to cut it. If you're wondering why there's so much extra material there, that is because we do use this skin profile to suit a big variety of graders. Rather than have 10 different size skins, we use one skin and then we get it pressed and we can cut it to suit the grader it's going on. But that material's not going to go to waste. I do use that for doing patch repairs on grader blades, and the longer pieces we use on the bottom of buckets. Water, double whopper, and bacon deluxe.
Yum.
That's pretty good. So we've just had an Uber Eats delivery for lunch, so thank you very much, Timothy, for our Hungry Jack's order.
Curtis's favourite. Maybe show him, because is it the same as like, well, it's like Burger King.
Well, Hungry Jack's is the Burger King.
Yeah. Okay, give him a look at the Whopper. Oh, is that an angry Whopper?
Looks like it.
Yum.
Now we've got our skin cut and prepped, we can fit it to the blade. So that skin fits really good, really happy with that. Now we can go through and tack everything off and then weld it out. To start welding it out, I am going to weld the plug holes in first. Once I've done that, I'm then going to go around the perimeter. The wire I'm using is CIG vertical in a 1.2, and the gas I'll be running that with is Argo Shield Heavy, which is 80% argon, 20% CO2. I'll be running that at about 26 volts and 6 meters of wire a minute. And to ensure the skin is correctly attached to the blade, I'm going to be doing 2 weld passes, 1 hot pass and then a capping pass. Now with the skin fully welded to the blade, I'm going to go down the sides and across the leading edge with a hard facing layer. The hard facing rods that I'm using are a Brazier Cord 700s in a 4mm diameter, and I'm going to be running them at 160 amps. Because the weld material is much softer than the 450 grade wear plate, putting the hard facing layer on the top of the weld will just prevent the weld from being eroded and the skin lifting off the blade, which will help prolong the life of the blade. Now that the blade skin is completed, we can get on to replacing the bottom blade guide. So what I need to do is take this outside, flip it over and gouge off the bottom rail. So we just replace the guides, we don't bother trying to weld them up and then machine them back to spec, because the weld material you put on there is nowhere near as good as the parent material. It is quite a high tensile plate, and welding it with hard facing wire is just not economical. It is quite difficult to machine, and it actually works out cheaper just to replace the entire guide. Righto guys, so now we've got the old guide removed and the blade ground up and prepped. We're going to get our new guide over and get it prepped as well. So our new piece of material, it is Biz 80 grade plate, and in order for this to work correctly in the saddle on the grader, it does need to be square and 90 degrees. Because it's not square, we do need to machine it, so we're going to set it up in our Zayer.
Come on.
Righto guys, so I've got our piece of material set up in the Zayer. We are going to be using the bed's full travel from end to end. So I do have to open up a cabinet door to allow the table just to go that little bit further. And I've also got to move the little wall that covers in our smaller milling machine so we can actually go past that. Before I had the Zayer, I would have to do these guides in our little Bridgeport style machine, and it would require 4 setups for each side. So having the Zayer is already paying off because it means 1 setup for each side. So I'm going to bring the head down and move the table all the way to one end before we start cutting. So I'm going to be using a 150mm diameter 12 insert shell mill. I'm going to be running that at 152 RPM, and I'll be feeding the table along at 114mm a minute. So you might notice that the tool is throwing off a few red sparks. That is because the material is getting quite hot and the inserts are worn out. Generally you would run coolant on something like this. Unfortunately the coolant system on this machine is not working at the moment. I'm not too worried about the inserts, we're just going to let it run. So that's our first side machine. You will notice when I undo the vices, the material is going to bend, and that is because I have relieved a plasma cut edge. When I flip that over, I will pull it down onto 1, 2, 3 blocks and then machine that surface, and it will actually stay dead straight after that. So I am just going to take it out of the machine and deburr these corners with a grinder so the vices clamp up nice and tight. So we've got it set up to do the next side, and the cut we're going to take, it is going to clean it up and bring it to size. Right, now that I've got that machine to size, I am going to do a weld prep on it. I'll be using a 45-degree approach 50mm face cutter, and we're just going to do about a 5mm weld prep from one end all the way to the other on both sides. Yep. So that's all the machining done. Now we can take it over, fit it onto the blade and weld it out. So when fitting a new guide, it is super important that you get the guides parallel all the way down. So when I am setting the guides up on a grader blade, I do use a tape measure to get a rough measurement, but I will also use calipers to get them exactly right. And then I will go through and I will dog and wedge them into position, tack them in place, and then double check them after I've tacked them.
Hey. That's pretty cute. I scared him away, I'm sorry.
So we've got the guide tacked in place, now we can weld it out. I'm going to be using the same filler material and weld procedure that we used to weld on the skin. Righto, so that is all the welding finished on our blade. Now we can fit it back to the grader. So before we can fit the new blade, I do need to change out the bottom brass guide shims. They are in pretty good condition, but they are worn, they're past 90 degrees. So we're not going to put our new guide through those, we're just going to change them out. So you might notice the rocks sitting on top of the cylinder up against the saddle. That there is the biggest cause for barrel damage to the blade slide cylinders themselves. They start to work themselves further down as they slide the cylinder back and forward, and finally they get to a point where they can't go anymore and they just dent the barrels, and then the pistons pick up in the barrels and then you end up throwing the cylinder in the bin. So you can't actually see them when the blade's on. You do need to get underneath and have a look and knock them out so you don't end up destroying the barrel. So really happy with where the blade is sitting in the saddle. It's sitting down nice and square on top of our new guide. Now I can put on the top clamps.
Wow. Now that the top clamps are in place, I'm going to reattach the blade slide cylinder. Once I do that, I can test the blade sliding in the saddle. Yep.
Very good. So that's moving really nicely. There is no binding and there aren't any excess gaps around the guides. So now I can adjust the top clamps. Oh, why is that so tight?
The reason I like using that stuff is it dries off and doesn't attract dust. So it's good practice when you are adjusting the brass guide blocks. You don't want to put too much tension on them. So to make sure they're not over adjusted, I wind the adjustment bolt down on top of the block. I back it off a quarter of a turn and then I tighten down the jam nut. Once the operator's done a couple of days work, he can then readjust them if they need to be. To make sure I didn't over tighten them, I'm going to test the blade slide again. So everything under the grate is done. The last thing I need to do is fit the GPS pole. Righto guys, so that's our grader job completed. We fit and welded on the new wear skin and replaced the back guide and got everything back together again. So all up, a job like this will take a few days. Everything's pretty straightforward. We've done a lot of these for this customer. We've also got the material, which is the wear skin, and we also got to get that pressed into shape off site, and we have the material for the back guide. Overall, this is a small cost for our customer to add many more years to the blade. Now he can get this machine back to work and earn some money. Thanks for watching. But that material doesn't go to what?
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 What happened?
I don't know. Is this just audio?
Well, probably. I don't know yet.
Can you put a bit more effort into this? I've been the one out here struggling. You've been sitting.
Oi, I've been listening to you. That is the biggest struggle of them all. And then I got to re-listen when I edit this.
Right. So, oh wait, that's good practice. Now that the skin's been, oh fuck, how do I start it? So I'm going to be using a 150mm diameter 12. So I'm going to be using a 12. So I'm going to be using a 150mm diameter.
Oh Jesus! Think about it. Do you want to just think the words first?
I thought about the thing. As long as your, oh fuck me. So as long as your top guide measurements, oh fuck.
Dragon.
As long as, oh for fuck's sake. Right, now we've got that tacked in place, we can now weld it out. Oh, I said now twice. Now we've got the skin cut and prepped, now we can fit it onto the, did I do it again?
You did it again.
Oh. Now with all the machining done, oh wait, now. So is that, shit, ready?
Yep. Heck. Oh no.
That's disappointing.
What?
Are you fucking serious? Back what? Fucking stop. Really? Oh, stop being a fuck.
Oh, it's hot. Jeez Louise. It's hot.
Hey, after this, we should go to Starbucks.
Yes! Woohoo! Curtis gets the pinkety drinkety. Do you have to hook up the forklift?
No, I'm just going to undo the top ones. I'll just hold it.
Oh,
I'll undo it and then lay it down.
you're so strong.
Thank you.
It's behind it.
Thank you.
What, that hammer? Oh my god! You looked at it.
Righto guys, so that's our blade. Oh, fuck me. Righto guys, so that's our grader job. For fuck's sake. Righto guys, so that's our for fuck's
What happens?
stuff.
I'd love to be in your brain.
I don't know. There'll be a monkey going.
Ding 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 ding.